Hold on, guys. Happy Independence Day, and I say that lightly because Independence Day has a mixed set of emotions for Black people, for obvious reasons, right? Black people haven't received the independence that we deserve. We know that America still has a lot of work to do. We know a lot of things still are not done correctly, but we're going to pretend. So let's go ahead and have the barbecues. Let's get together and shoot off the fireworks and pretend like the 4th of July means something to us when the reality is that we haven't received the freedom that we deserve. But I'm not here to be a pessimist. I'm actually here to educate you guys. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to educate you on Dr. Claud Anderson's book. The book is called The Black History Reader. And in The Black History Reader, Dr. Claud Anderson gives you a lot of the history that you're not going to get in school. He gives you a lot of the Black history that you don't receive anywhere else. And I want to read a couple of pages to you to help you understand uh, why we allegedly, why in an alleged free society, if America is truly free, then why you still got to march in order to have your freedom? If America's really free, then why do you have to beg for your freedom? If America's really free, why you got to go pray to white Jesus, hoping that one day you'll be free? Well, the reason you have to do that is because you haven't had freedom yet. You don't know what freedom tastes like. You don't know what it feels like. You've never been there. The 4th of July does not represent freedom for Black people. We know that. Juneteenth doesn't represent freedom for Black people. We know that. You still have a tremendous amount of slavery in the capitalist system. In fact, today I was going through Chicago on a river tour, and they were showing me all these buildings that cost 10, 20, 30, $50 billion. I mean, just dozens and dozens and dozens of these $50 billion buildings. I mean, it had to cost 10, 20, 30 billion. I mean, insane amounts of money. Buildings where they'd have, 1,000 condo units, and each of the condos would be, $1 million a piece. And I said, this is a reminder of just how much wealth they took from Black people. This is a reminder of how much wealth they owe Black people. They can write those big checks. They need to get those checks out of the corporations. All the corporations need to pay a reparations tax. Give me a yes or no if you agree, if you understand where I'm coming from. All the corporations in America should pay a reparations tax, and there should be a multi-trillion-dollar fund to pay back Black people. Some of these multi-billion-dollar buildings in downtown Chicago and in New York and in New Jersey and in Los Angeles and in Denver and all these places around the United States, some of these multi-billion-dollar office complexes should be handed over to the Black community. Some of this land, this $1 million land, should be handed over to Black people. So, long story short, it's one of those things where if we don't get serious about it, nothing good's going to come of it. If we don't even know how to talk about freedom, we don't even know the language of freedom, then how are we ever going to pursue that, right? Capitalism in itself is not designed to give you freedom. So you're going to have to think beyond the capitalist model and figure out how to achieve freedom in a society that is built on capitalism. But that doesn't mean you become a socialist or a Marxist and all that other stuff, because those systems also are built on the type of slavery. The Marxist will incarcerate you and enslave you as fast as the damn capitalist. I've seen it on both sides. You get enslaved by the left, you get enslaved by the right. The only way you can learn how to be free is to truly be free. Freedom means that it's like a woman. A woman who wants to be free does not leave her pimp to go date her rapist. She does not leave her pimp to go date a man who's going to beat her ass every day, right? She says, I'm going to be free. I'm going to be free. And I'm going to choose my relationships. I'm going to choose who I want to be with. So, Black people, you need to choose who you want to be with and stop letting these groups pimp you by convincing you that you'll be freer with them than you are with somebody else. So anyway, hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button. And I apologize for being rude and not greeting some of you. I see Andrea Jordan and Nathan Bates and Daryl and Janice and Wayne and Miss Hosea and Ty Thomas. He says Dr. Claud Anderson is that man's dude. Yeah, Dr. Claud Anderson is like a father to me. We have that type of a relationship. We are like father and son, and I love that man. Somebody asked, do I think that that Trump would have met with Ice Cube or Dr. Anderson? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know much about Trump. He's an old white man as far as I'm concerned. I don't necessarily trust him like I trust any politician. But I do know that during the election, when I was talking to him a lot about trying to connect with the different politicians, we found that there was a lot more responsiveness from the right than from the left. And that generally comes down to ideology. The people on the right tend to believe more in do for self and starting businesses and building families. Whereas the people on the left, they kind of get into a lot of stuff, honestly, that I don't get into. They get into socialist policies, and they see black people as a welfare case. They kind of want to get into gayism and all this other stuff, these social issues that are, in my view, a waste of time. You've been doing social issues for the last 50 years and it hasn't moved you forward at all. It hasn't. The civil rights movement did not move you forward economically. All it did was give you more jobs working for white people, because a socialist and a Marxist is not trained to understand even the fundamentals of what it takes to build independent industry. They're not thinking about the money. So if you're not thinking about the money, you're not going to have the money. So they want you caught up in people telling you that Black Lives Matter and that they like you and that they want to be friends with you when you go to the grocery store. Man, to hell with that. Write a damn check. Give me a check so I can go feed my family, so I can go build a company, so I can go hire my people. That's what I want. I want to have that power. I don't want you to let me come in here and tell me that I have the right to hold your hand and sing "We Shall Overcome." I don't care about that. I don't need all that. Just cut the damn check and get out of my face. And I'll see you later after we finish regrouping, after we close ranks and build what we need to build. Then we can connect with you. We'll have schools built. You can attend our schools if you want to. Like, I built the Black Business School. White people can attend the Black Business School if they want to. I don't care what your ethnicity is. You can attend our school, but just know that it's our school. Just like we attend your schools, you attend our school. That way, that's the type of integration I want. I want integration that involves power. I don't want integration where you are being integrated as a subordinate. And some of y'all get it, some of you don't. Some of our people haven't been trained on this, and they say things that just don't make any sense. And you got to speak up against that. Now, before I read some of this book from Dr. Claud Anderson, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Also, there is a life class I have called Black Keys to Greatness. There used to be a fee. It used to be $9.99 for a lifetime membership. We decided to give it away for free. So it's totally free. And the reason that you want to join for free is because I started a book club, and the book club, we're going to meet every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. The link is right there in the system. You can get access. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through a bunch of books, starting with Dr. Anderson's books. We're going to start with Black Labor, White Wealth. Every week I'm going to lecture on that book. And then after that, we're going to go to Powernomics. And after that, we're going to go to Dirty Little Secrets. After that, we're going to go to the Black History Reader. And we're going to do it piece by piece by piece and work our way all the way through the entire curriculum. And it's totally free to anybody in the community that wants to grow and wants to learn. You guys know I've been a college professor for 27 years. I've taught at Syracuse University, Indiana University, the Ohio State University, the University of Kentucky. You can come in and you can learn from me for free in that program. So feel free to join us. The URL is right there on the screen, blackkeystogreatness.com. Share this with your family, and you can, and it's just a gift from us in the Black Business School. We want to see you do well. All right, so here's what I want to read to you. This is really interesting. He talks about, crap, I lost the page. Okay, he says, why don't whites have to march and fight for citizenship and civil rights? You always hear about black people, black people having to march, and fight for all these civil rights that are supposed to be basic, right? You're supposed to have your freedom. Well, if you really have your freedom, then why do you have to march and fight for your freedom? That doesn't make any sense, because you don't have it, right? So let me read what Dr. Anderson says. It's on page 88 of the Black History Reader, and you can get a copy at powernomics.com. It says, in the mid-'60s, with an active black civil rights movement dominating the news, the nation seemed to be on the road to the realization of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his dream that someday black children would be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. 50 years later, our nation's streets continue to host riots, Million Man marches, and Black Lives Matter demonstrations for justice and rights. In race matters, why is it that whites do not have to march or fight for their rights in the streets like black Americans routinely do? As simply as it can be stated, whites do not have to march and fight for their rights because their rights are the foundational principles of this country. More specifically, the nation's founding documents blessed whites with freedom, security, and an abundance of happiness. They do not have to fight or demonstrate for their rights. Now, consider these facts. Can y'all hear me? Give me a yes in the chat if you can hear me. I got family in the other room. We're having a family day today, so I'm taking a little break to talk to you guys because you guys are my family too. The B1 community, that is my family. I'm every black person in my family. I ain't gonna lie. Some of y'all Negroes are toxic. I don't want you around. But the black folks that really want to build, y'all are my family, and I love you as much as I love my wife and my children. And y'all know I love the hell out of my wife, and I love the hell out of you, and I just want to be there for you. So that's why I'm such a weirdo that I'm taking a step away from Family Day to talk to you guys. So here's what it says. Consider these facts. One, the entire U.S. Constitution and its amendments bestowed on whites all of the rights, freedoms, protections, and privileges of first class citizenship. Two, the U.S. Constitution was crafted as the nation's first affirmative action plan, and it was strictly for whites. Three, the nation's first nationalization law of 1790 declared America to be a white nation, which was symbolized as the American dream for European whites seeking property and the rights to acquire free native Indian land and free black labor. Number four, the nation's immigration laws are designed to ensure that whites will remain the majority population with dominance and control over everyone else's rights and privileges. Five, the U.S. Supreme Court has been filled with white jurists who historically rendered judicial decisions that preserve white superiority and advantages. Six, slavery based maldistribution of nearly 100% of the nation's wealth and power into the hands of the dominant white society determined opportunities and rights that still exist today. Do you get what he's saying so far? The theme here I'm gathering is that Dr. Anderson is saying the reason white people don't have to march for nothing is because it was all documented for them. They received the inheritance. They had it written down on paper. It was written into the law that they would have certain rights and privileges. Your stuff ain't wrote down nowhere. Nobody wrote down your freedom. So you have to march for it. You have to fight for it. You have to say, well, I'm not three-fifths of a person because there's nothing in the law that supports your freedom. So it says number seven, slave codes, black codes, Jim Crow segregation, and extra legal organizations reinforced and protected white rights. White Americans have a monopoly on rights in America. Blacks who march for their rights must do so with the full knowledge that only the civil rights laws and three constitutional amendments enacted during Reconstruction, but whose original intents were later corrupted by the U.S. Supreme Court, ever sought to guarantee rights for Black people. So the rights that they received in the founding fathers' paperwork were not guaranteed to you. And the amendments that were given to you were corrupted later on. They were diluted. You know, when you have these people running around here, talking about diversity is pretty much anybody who's not a white man. So now they got you equivalent to a gay guy, right? Now, no disrespect to anybody in who's gay, no disrespect at all. But being Black is not the same as being gay. That I'm sorry, you can hide your sexuality. All of us can, but you cannot hide from being Black. So those are two different things. So let's stop, confusing the issue. So let's keep going. Most of today's problems that confront Blacks were created and sustained by whites to protect their institutional rights and privileges and unearned wealth. Equally as important is the reality that racial segregation was established and fought for because whites believed they had the right to say who would be their neighbor, whom their children would attend school with, who would sit beside them in a restaurant. Whites hold their rights to be constitutionally sacred and therefore are unwilling to share any portion with Black people, who the U.S. Constitution defined as property, three-fifths of a human being and equal to field animals. It was the 13th and 14th Amendments to the Constitution that granted citizenship and paper or illusionary rights to Black ex-slaves. So they gave you the illusion of having freedom, but it wasn't real freedom. They also threw you into capitalism, the capitalist system with no capital. That's like throwing you into a football game and saying you have an equal opportunity to play, but you have no training, you've never practiced, you don't have any pads, you don't know what the hell to do. How are you going to play football when you ain't got no football pads? How are you going to play football when you've never been trained to be a football player? How are you going to play football when you don't even know where the damn end zone is? Right? So that's what they did. They threw you into a football game with no equipment. You can't play football with no equipment. You get your head cracked open. And so that's what happened when they allegedly freed the slaves. They threw them out and said, we're not going to give you anything, but you have freedom. Well, in a capitalist society, you cannot have freedom if you don't have any money. That's just a fundamental fact. You don't have freedom for anything. You don't have freedom of speech if you ain't got no money in America. So let me keep going. With whites viewing the Constitution as the Holy Grail, Blacks cannot rely on the Constitution as interpreted by Supreme Court jurists who are the guardians of the status quo in race matters. So this Constitution was designed to give white people the power and the freedom in America. So every time you show up and you say, well, the Constitution says I'm supposed to have this and have that, they interpret the Constitution literally, and they end up coming back at you and saying, no, you don't deserve to have nothing because the document does not incorporate anything for you. It doesn't have anything there. It wasn't written for you. So it says, based upon the Supreme Court's historical rulings in Black versus White Race Matters, author Ian Millhiser, in his book Injustices, appropriately described the Supreme Court as consistently, quote, comforting the comfortable and afflicting the afflicted. Blacks' best hope for justice and rights is to have a well-focused street demonstrations to reclaim the original intent of the 1866 civil rights laws and the 13th and 14th Amendments that Congress passed to specifically reverse the 1857 U.S. Supreme Court's Dred Scott decision. Chief Taney's Supreme Court decision declared that blacks had no rights that a white man was bound to respect. The radical Republican members of Congress enacted civil rights laws and constitutional amendments to convey rights strictly to and for blacks. Reconstruction ended in the mid-1870s when the U.S. Supreme Court exercised assumed judicial powers to restore total white dominance and strip blacks of those rights granted to them by radical Republican congressmen during Reconstruction. The Supreme Court ended Reconstruction by ruling that civil laws enacted for blacks in the years between 1867 and 1875 were unconstitutional. Do y'all hear that? Do you hear that? Give me a yes or no if you hear what I'm saying here. I don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to read some of this to you. Basically, they're saying that the Supreme Court basically reversed all the laws that were passed during Reconstruction that were designed to give you equal access to freedom and citizenship. So since we're sitting here on Independence Day, I thought I would pull out Dr. Claud Anderson's book. His book is called The Black History Reader. All your children, when they learn Black history, should be reading this book. You can go to powernomics.com and get a copy. Buy it from him. Don't buy it from me. Buy it from him because I want to support his company. I told Dr. Anderson straight up, I said, look, I'm not just going to be like everybody else sitting here saying, I love you. I want to support you. I know money matters. If you love your loved one, help them make some money, help them get some bread, help them get their business off the ground. Instead, you got folks out here destroying their friends' businesses, destroying black businesses, targeting black businesses more than they target white businesses. And it's crazy to me. It's ridiculous. If you love people that you care about, don't just say you love them. Show it. Show it. If you got $1 in your pocket, don't tell the black man, I want you to give me the hookup and give me something free, and then go spend your money with white folks. That don't make no damn sense. So when Dr. Anderson, when I gave books, copies of Powernomics away at my wedding, Dr. Anderson and I had a little bit of an argument. We had a little bit of a back and forth because I gave the books away. And when he saw I was giving the books away at my wedding, he said, no, I don't want you to spend any of your money. I want you to have these books for free. And I said, no, I'm really getting mad at you right now because I want to pay for these books, because if I care about you, I'm going to support your business. Right. And that back and forth, kind of happened. And that's the point I want to make to you. A lot of y'all don't understand that, there are families out here that think that talking about money is taboo. Well, when you with your relatives, you don't want to be talking about money because that's just bad. Well, if you don't talk about money, then guess what? They're going to have to go talk about money to somebody. They're going to have to go talk to that white man who's going to say, okay, boy, you can come work for me. Just show up to the factory Monday morning at 9:00. So you better get together with family and talk about money. So you don't send them out here begging and giving all their value away for nothing to people who are thinking about money every single day of the week. You must think about the economics. That's where the power's at. So, as I was riding down the Chicago River on this tour and seeing all these buildings they cost $10 billion, $20 billion, $30 billion. I mean, massive multi-billion-dollar complexes. I said, okay, that's where our reparations checks are at. That's where our reparations are. Imagine if they took, if the city of Chicago was required to take 10 of their billion-dollar buildings, skyscrapers, and give them over to the black community, where we had a committee that was making revenue from these buildings. That would sound like a pretty good reparations check. The money's out there. The government doesn't have the money, but the corporations do. The corporations have the money. Imagine if Jeff Bezos, who has $200 billion, was forced to give $100 billion of that $200 billion and put it in the hands of people like you and I, where we could actually build schools for black people all around the country. That would make more sense to me. So as I'm thinking more about the reparations conversation, which I think is appropriate on a day like Independence Day, where you don't really have any independence. Your Independence Day is actually probably in the 21st or 22nd century. Your Independence Day is about 100 years from now. As I think about that, I'm thinking about the money, because the money must come with the freedom. You can't have one without the other. So do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, Give me 1 second. My wife has something to say to me, and she's so beautiful that when she talks, I always listen. So hit the thumbs up button. Yes, babe.
We have 7 o'clock reservations.
Okay, so I'm going to finish up, and can I have 10 more minutes?
We have to leave quickly.
Okay, so how about 5 minutes? I'm going to take 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes. All right, I'm going to finish up with my people. Okay. All right. See, that's husband-wife talk. That's All right, so let me see here. All right, so thank y'all for forgive me for the interruption, but you know when she talks, I always respond. All right, so here we go. It says Reconstruction ended in the mid 1870s when the U.S. Supreme Court exercised assumed judicial powers to restore total white dominance and strip blacks of those rights granted to them by radical Republican congressmen during Reconstruction. The Supreme Court ended Reconstruction by ruling that civil laws enacted for blacks in the years between 1867 and 1875 were unconstitutional. Since the 1866 civil rights laws have morphed into the Constitution's 14th Amendment, which could not be ruled as unconstitutional, the Supreme Court chose to corrupt the 1866 civil rights laws by ruling that they were for everybody and not specifically black people. That's where your so-called fake civil rights leaders start telling you that all our civil rights are for everybody. When they start doing all that, they're killing your rights. So it says here also that if blacks failed to challenge the Supreme Court's racist rulings and recapture original rights intended for them in the second U.S. Constitution and a series of civil rights laws, then blacks have no legitimate constitutional rights in this nation. So, happy Independence Day. I hate to be, um, I hate to be the jerk who who lays out the truth. I'm sure for some people I'm ruining their family barbecue, but you're gonna have to elevate your thinking when it comes to what all this stuff means. As Dr. Anderson breaks down, this is why it's important for all of us to have these ideas and read these books. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this whole book club for free. If you go to blackkeystogreatness.com, you can sign up because I feel like the community needs to be thoroughly educated on all of this. We need to learn our history. The school system must come from us. I'm building a school system. It's just going to be digital. So by building a school system, what does that mean? That means that I'm using every ounce of my platform. I have 1 million subscribers. I'm not on all my different YouTube channels and whatnot. I have about 1 million people subscribed on different Facebook pages. We have several million. I just crossed 300,000 on Instagram. I am going to use my platform to reach as many black people as possible so that we can have our own school system. We do not need white people to go build schools for us. We have our own school system. But what I'm going to need is your help too. If you could take this video and share it on your social media, be part of the distribution network, let everybody know that blackkeystogreatness.com, they can sign up. It won't cost them anything. Every Wednesday, we're going to go through Dr. Anderson's books. We're going to start. Those are the books I want to focus on originally. So it's going to take months to do this. But I want to go through Black labor, white wealth, so we can really understand Black history, reparations, how wealth was taken from our people, and what is owed to us. Then we're going to cover Powernomics, where we're going to talk about the building blocks of economic strength and what that looks like. So your children will grow up and they're going to implement this stuff. They're going to implement these ideas in the year 2050 or 2060 because you're going to do things like the $5 a day investing plan. So you're going to give them the capital to begin that process. Do you understand? So this is a 100-year plan. This is a 150-year objective. This is something that will not be complete until we're all gone and dead. Okay. The third thing we're going to cover is we're going to cover the Black History Reader. We're going to go through it step by step. You don't need no white man to educate you. You don't need anybody building schools for you. You're not a damn child. You are an adult. You can build anything you want to build. You could do anything you want to do. You could be as great as you want to be, and you don't need nobody's permission. So let's stop letting people make us into scrubs and let's start being winners. We can do this. Okay. All right. So give me a yes in the chat if you get what I'm saying. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, subscribe button. The URL's on the screen, blackkeystogreatness.com. And also, if you want to follow my Instagram, there's my Instagram. I just crossed 300,000 followers on Instagram, which is really surprising to me because whenever I look at the analytics, I lose about 1,000 people a week because I piss people off. But I ain't got time to be trying to be nice to these fools. I'm just gonna tell them the truth, and I do it deliberately. I probably deliberately self-sabotage because I like to challenge people to make them leave. And if you're strong enough to stay, then that means you're my type of people. I only want the strong ones. The weak ones, somebody else can have them. They can go become rappers or basketball players, whatever the hell they want to be. But they're not meant for the revolution. I want people that are ready to build. So take care, guys. Have a good day. Love you. And please hit the thumbs up button on your way out. And I'll see you guys soon. And by the way, you can get Dr. Anderson's books at powernomics.com. So everybody feel free to get a copy of powernomics.com. Happy holidays, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Peace.